Hey trig class, I'm just making you a quick little video to start your first activity, and this is about frequency of a trig function. So we haven't used this word a lot yet, but it is something you're already familiar with. So the frequency is really the number of cycles your function completes in a given interval, all right? So the interval we've been focused on is 2 pi or 360 degrees. And normally we know we have, like the sine function, and it makes one swoop up, one swoop down, and comes back to the start within 2 pi. That's our basic, sine function without the period being changed. Well, it could be that if we change the period, we have one up, one down, one up, one down, and back up all in 2 pi. So that is, 2 full periods in one inside of 2 pi. So that means that the frequency is 2 there. That's how many cycles we can fit within that interval. So really, frequency is the same as the b value. The b value in your trig equation. Okay, so this is the same trig equation that we've been working on, and frequency is what we call that b value. So we know that if the period is equal to 2 pi over b, well, sometimes we want to solve for the frequency, right? So let's take that equation there. If period is equal to 2 pi over b, and solve for b instead. So first I would multiply both sides by b. So bp is equal to 2 pi. And then if I want b by itself, I'm going to divide by p, right? So really, the frequency is equal to 2 pi divided by the period, all right? And you can see that these are sort of inverses of each other. So 2 pi over b is equal to p, and 2 pi over p is equal to b. So those are inverses of each other. When you start to do the activity, you're going to get a formula y equals a sine kt. Sorry, I'm having trouble talking right now. A is still your amplitude, and then instead of b, they replaced it with k, and some textbooks will do that. But for all intents and purposes, those two mean the exact same thing. Some people use b, some people use k. So you might be solving for k, but it's really the same as solving for b. All right. So let's do one quick example. If the period of a particular occurrence is 12 hours, so in this case, maybe we're talking about tides, right? We have one high tide and one low tide every 12 hours. It's like 12 and a half hours exactly, I think, but for simplicity's sake, we'll call it 12 hours. What would the frequency be? Well, if the frequency is equal to 2 pi divided by the period, then the frequency would be 2 pi divided by 12, right? And so if we were to write an equation for this particular function, it would be the sine of, but instead of just having x, it would be 2 pi over 12 x, right? This is our b value that would go into our equation. So you'll need this same process when you guys start the biorhythm activity. So I just wanted you to have this down and then go ahead and give that a try.